All right, Grenada, Carrick, Monica, and the rest of the world, we would like to welcome you to another Mikey Live show. Folks, this is where it all happens. We're talking about the good, the bad, and the Mikey. Now, first of all, let me first say, we were having some connectivity errors. We were ready to start the program on time, but there was some connectivity errors. But we are here. We have gotten it going, and thank you for that. All right. Thank you to our service provider for that, always working with us. So welcome again to another Mikey Live program. We'd also like to say welcome to the people viewing on WPG10 channels 10 and 11. We are live in HD on channel 11. That's cable TV channel 11. All right, so folks, brace yourself. We have a lot of big stories to tell you about tonight, a lot of big stories. Now, first of all, you might be hearing this for the first time, but a 72-year-old has died after being beaten. After being beaten. He was unconscious for quite some time, never regained consciousness. In fact, he was in a coma for months. He has died, but that's not the only update to that. A young man is now being charged. In fact, he's currently being detained for his death. We're going to be talking about that in a moment. You may be hearing about this for the first time as well. Flood warning issued for Grenada. Minor flood warning issued for Grenada. Another interesting story we're going to be telling you about tonight. Lawyer charged with indecent assault. That's right. A lawyer has been charged with indecent assault. We're going to tell you more about that coming up in the program. 350 cannabis trees and 1,000 seedlings seized by police in Grenada. We're going to talk about that. Also, ACM. We're going to tell you who ACM is and all that. Concerned about GBN situation. 3 men found with sauce up and they have been detained. What are you doing with the sauce up? Show me your receipt. Can't produce a receipt? Well, trouble in the morning. We're going to be telling you about that and more. In fact, UE students arrested during protest for a safer campus. That too, we are going to be telling you about. So we have a lot to tell you about. And of course, as always, we have the doctor with us. We have Dr. Anselm Okeke. He is from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services, who will be talking to us tonight. Of course, it's a very interesting topic. So we are going to talk to the doctor in a moment. Here's what we want to encourage you to do as you're here with us tonight. Share the program. Share the program so that other people can see what's happening here. Listen, we tell you the good, the bad, and the Mikey. So brace yourself. We remind you that the headlines was brought to you through the kind compliments of Duty Free Caribbean and Colombian Emeralds International.
Award-winning in-depth reporting comes to WPG10. A new season for the news documentary series Carib Update Exclusives is aired 8:30 Mondays. In the next edition, the Grenada debate about the Caribbean Court of Justice.
If this referendum goes ahead on November 6th, we in the NDC are saying to all patriotic Grenadians, do not see green, do not see yellow. Vote no.
Political parties do not have a right to frustrate the people. Okay? And so when I read the NDC's position, I ask myself, really, what is it that they are saying? How are they aligning themselves with the interests of the people?
And where does the vote stand now? We have the analysis and the answers. Plus, we sit down with Grenada songbird Sabrina Francis. Sabrina Francis and her band toured Europe this week. But we talk to her about her values and her music. It's all in the next edition of Carib Update Exclusives.
And so it begins, a journey like no other. Jungles so lush, they make emeralds jealous. Water that sparkles like diamonds. Mountains with more facets than precious gems. This is where good times are had, where love is strengthened, where memories are formed. And when it all comes to an end, bring home something that will never fade. Colombian Emeralds International. Bring home more than a memory.
What's your shade? Smooth, dark, golden caramel, creamy delight, or just right? Get your sexy on with True Masqueraders as they celebrate their 13th anniversary with an all-new event, Chocolate Physique. The Grenada Yacht Club, Wednesday, October 24th, the night before the holiday. The time, 10 p.m. Get your tickets for only $80, which includes free drinks, or $150 premium all-inclusive. Enjoy special appearances by local male and female models covered in chocolate. Chocolate Physique. This is going to be a sexy affair. Your DJs, Kevlar Tone International, Black Storm, and Graphic Sounds.
Come on, baby, let's go party.
Tickets available at Grenadians Optical, Fit for Life Health Club, Michelle's Health and Wellness, and members of the True Masqueraders family. This event is sponsored by Amazing Chocolate Creme Liqueur, Grenada Chocolate Company, Smirnoff Vodka, Panchakuba, Campari, Guinness, Mikey Live, WeFM, Fit for Life Health Club, Go To Vet, Nelson Ross Food Service, and On The Spot Hardware. This is our gift to you. True Masqueraders celebrating 13. Get ready for Face Off 13th, Friday, December 21st.
The countdown has begun, and time is running out. Shop at Courts today and make this season epic with the latest in electronics, appliances, stylish furniture, and so much more. Pay nothing until 2019 and get a free gift with selected purchase, so don't delay. Shop now and make this season epic. Only at Courts, bringing value home.
All right, so thank you very much again, and with Courts you always bring value home. Welcome to those of you who are just joining us. Welcome to another Mikey Live program. All right, folks, so let's get right into what's making the news for today. Now, the first thing that we have to tell you about is, boy, last night we told you about the opening of the netball tournament. Yeah, the D Sports Shop opening tournament. But here's what we have an update on that for you. Now, the opening ceremony and the Fast 5 netball competition of the 2018 Ministry of Sports D Sports Shop Secondary Schools netball tournament has been postponed due to the inclement weather experienced today. The opening was scheduled for today, Thursday 18th October from 1:30 p.m. at the Tantin Netball Court. Now, information regarding the rescheduled date for the opening will be made available on a later date, according to officials at the ministry. Good. Now, folks, the next thing that we have to tell all you about, boy, let me put up a picture on the screen to let you know who it is that we are talking about when we talk about the next story. Now, a group of young stars are currently in Barbados. That's right. These ones are in Barbados. What are they doing in Barbados, you may ask yourselves. Now, that's the Grenada Under-20 team. They are currently in Barbados seeking to secure their U.S. visas for participation in the CONCACAF Under-20 tournament, which takes place from November 1st to the 21st in Bradenton, Florida. Bradenton, Florida. All right. Now, the squad, which face a daunting task in the qualifying zone, will meet the likes of Jamaica, Nicaragua, Mexico, Aruba, and St. Martin. Now, once processing of their visas is completed, the team returns home to Grenada to continue training ahead of their November schedule. Now, meanwhile, Grenada's SMNT, without a victory, will face St. Martin in their third CONCACAF Nations League match in Grenada on November 16 at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. All right, Grenada lost its first 2 opening matches 10-0 versus Curacao and 2-0 to Cuba. Now, the Spice Boys, whose loss to Curacao in the opening match shocked the footballing world, they are hoping for a large victory against their next opponent, who have suffered similar large defeats in their previous 2 matches. Well, let's see what will take place in that regard. We're moving on to tell you other things making the news tonight. The ACM, boy, the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, is called the ACM. They are greatly concerned, they say, about the impasse between workers at the Grenada Broadcasting Network, GBN, and its general manager, Odette Campbell. They say that they are hopeful that the workers and their representatives will be able to satisfactorily resolve this issue over the negotiating table with the company. Now, they are encouraging all concerned to move swiftly towards bringing this vexing issue to an end. Now, the ACM say that they are, however, very concerned about reports that news staff have been prevented from reporting on the impasse and the subsequent industrial action. They say that any attempt to prevent journalists from reporting on this or any other industrial action constitutes an attack on press freedom and should be condemned. They say that they call on the owners and management to allow the news team to function in a manner that embraces the tenets of a free press and freedom of expression. The ACM will continue to monitor in the situation, and they remain hopeful that all parties can arrive at an amicable solution. Now, the next story that I tell you now is a release that we have just moments before coming on the program received from the body who is responsible for disaster. We're talking about NADMA, and currently, people, there is a flood warning in effect for Grenada. In fact, they would say it's a minor flood warning in effect for Grenada, and all concerned, please be guided accordingly. Now, the information from NADMA reads: the Met Services at the Maurice Bishop International Airport has issued a minor flood warning for Thursday night into Friday. Now, according to the forecaster, the Intertropical Conversion Zone, the ITCZ, is producing advective moisture, and it's into our area, producing widely scattered to moderate and even heavy showers in some parts. Now, these showers have the likelihood to produce minor flooding and small-scale landslides along roadways and steep slopes. Now, the motoring and the general public, you are therefore advised to please exercise caution. Now, that is for tonight. At NADMA and the Met Office, with regards to this particular tropical wave and the current system being that has been affecting us, have been very proactive on this, and so they have so far been very accurate. I mean, these are forecasts and so on, but we would have noticed that the predictions or the forecasts that they have issued have been bang on target. All right, but I ain't always saying nothing, and I mean, I ain't hearing all that. But anyway, please be guided accordingly. You know, the information was sent out just moments ago. All right, so folks, we have more to tell you about. The next thing that we have to tell you about, boy, is information that we received from the police. Now, early morning, since cock start to crow, we got a call. Mikey, weed in the business. What do you mean weed in the business? Let me show you what we say when we say weed in the business. You understand? This is a picture, a joint operation by officers attached to the Special Services Unit and the Rapid Response Unit on Thursday, that is this morning, boy, at about 5:30 a.m. at Spring Garden, Birch Grove, St. Andrew, resulted in the uprooting of 350 cannabis trees ranging between 5 to 7 feet, that's taller than me, you understand, in height, and the seizure of approximately 1,000 cannabis seedlings. You understand? Early morning, people. I'm telling you, cock no crow yet. We get the word, Mikey, Mikey, Mikey. You understand? And that is what we were sent. You understand? Now, no one has so far been arrested. Let me fix up my thing here. Good. I want to make sure we're good. No one has so far been arrested, but who knows? Time will tell. Now, this raid comes just hours, about a day or so, after Canada announced that it has legalized recreational marijuana. So, in terms of our country's policy on marijuana use and all these things, I'm not too sure if we have anything coming in terms of, you know, think, because we look like we could make a money, you know. Them trees and them look serious. Them trees and them look healthy, boy. Officer, don't lose a leaf, you know. You know, don't lose a leaf, officer. That money we are there. And I mean, we should start climbing the mountains, and making some barricade and thing. And I mean, and we renting spots. What I tell you, don't put me in government in a place mash up here. I'm telling all you, I gain some nice roads, clean up some mountain and thing, making sure the road nice. And I mean, I'm making sure the road nice. You understand? You gotta register. You know what I mean? You see like all them big up Ken, Hapa, and big up Brother John and thing. But see all them people going by marketing and National Importing Board and GCNA with a nutmeg book. Don't put me in government, you know. Because anytime I put me in government, I'm making sure, you know what I mean, I control the thing proper. You gotta have your weed book. You know what I mean? You gotta have your license. You gotta have your weed book. You know what I mean? If you're producing more than that, what in the book, you get arrested and the charge is big and thing, you know what I mean? If you're missing a leaf on your plantation, you're going to jail. I ain't playing with that. But I'm making sure this country benefits from the production, not from the use. I never talk about no use or nothing. You never hear me say on the program nothing, don't get me wrong. But I'm gonna make sure that this country benefits from the sale and production of marijuana. You know what I mean? I'm making sure them police get real work to do. Anybody who planted marijuana and don't have a marijuana book, yeah, no. Then the fine so big, we could build a house out of that fine. Because we're making sure we regulate the thing properly. You know what I mean? But we leave that talk for another day. You know what I mean? We will leave that talk day. We're moving on to the next story, people. You see, the next story is a serious story that I want to tell all you about. But don't make joke with me and my weed policy, you know, people. Not my weed policy. Yeah, don't make joke with me and my cannabis policy. I'm telling all you, I'm turning around the economy. Every man, brother, and thing, we're getting good roads in Grenada out of marijuana production and sale, out of cannabis production and sale. You understand? Yes. And thing like that, you know. Boost the economy and thing. You see? I'm telling all you, I'm joking with my policy. Alright, so let's go as we talk about the next story. Now, all you, the next story is a serious one. Okay? A lawyer. You understand? A lawyer is now in trouble with the law. An attorney at law is in trouble with the law. He's a former acting magistrate. Here, I am telling you that I never hear that yet. But police has confirmed that attorney Rafael Batiste has been charged with indecent assault, sex-related crime, sex-related offense. The police remain tight-lipped about who the victim is. Usually, they're not really going to tell you about that, you know. But it doesn't involve no minor and thing like that. Take that out of all your head. You know what I mean? yeah, but the police was tight-lipped and that, and you know, we understand. But only to confirm this, you understand? We tried to obtain some more information, but we couldn't because you know how the business set up. You understand? But we have received confirmation on the business. Jano. How are we looking for time? Hamlet? Jano star. All you. The next story we have to tell all you about is another very serious business, people. So I received a call on the 29th of June 2018 that a man was beaten by some unknown people. They don't know who beat the man. An old man, 72 years, fishing and then kind of business. That's what he does, do one thing. Beaten. You understand? For what? I don't know. They say they just beat up the man. You understand? So, I understand that the man never regained consciousness. Never regained consciousness. He stayed in a coma for months. He died. People, he died. 72 years old. No one knows the motive for this. No one knows the motive. But the man was bitten and he later died. In the Palmist area, Palmist, St. John. Ralph Cronett. Bleeding from the head and so on. Now we are understanding tonight that a man is currently in police custody and has since been charged for Ralph's death. Today, Mr. Desron Thomas, a 32-year-old, they say he's originally from Concord, but I believe he lives in the Palmist Ghana area, you know, charged with manslaughter. You understand? With manslaughter. Currently in police custody, charged today, following a very intense investigation conducted by police in Guav. Yes? Now, he will be attending court on Monday. Monday coming. You understand? So we are going to continue to monitor this development because I think it's interesting. You know, it's not the first time. It is not the first time something has happened like that at that time. You know, usually they have the 28th of June celebrations and so on leading up to the fisherman's birthday, so they usually would have like a thing, like a road show ending in the night and people going home or whatever it is. Remember a couple of years ago, a woman was found almost to death, left for dead. You understand? This is another case again. So let's see where this one goes. All right, let's see where this one goes. Oh, telling you, boy, Chano, 72 years old. All right, we are moving on. As don't forget, in a moment we will have the doctor with us. All right, so we're moving on nicely. How are we looking for time? All is the most interesting, well, funny story I'm going to be telling all for the day. You know? They say about 2,000 pounds of sauce-up confiscated by police today, you know. 3 men were detained. They say the incident happened in the south of the island. The police, the pretty last minute task force and them people and them in the police big up Wilton. Is Wilton his own name, eh? Mr. Sam. You understand? Eh? They say it's usually, they don't make the little patrol and things. So they see the men and them 3 truck loaded up. Oh God! Alright, don't laugh, Mikey. They say, watch the. They say 3 truck load of sauce up, you know. Oh God! I don't laugh, Mikey. That's serious. So them men look like they're gonna make a money. That is news discussed, not told. But here them men look like they're gonna make a money. So they get catch. Right? So police say, hold on, partner, where you receipt? We gonna source up. But listen, if I did day I know that I will not be able to hold up my camera for that one. They say the police say, where you receipt? They say the man start to stammer. Blah, 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 blah. Right. So anyway, 3 men. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to practice that story. Yeah? I said, I do laughing. A convoy. A convoy of sauce up. I'd make you behave. So anyway, you don't like when you see them army movie? When you see them oh God. You know, you see them army movie and them, you know, running through the desert, them chuck on them and they say, rescue at last. They say, a convoy of sauce up and it's out of the island. Anyway, so according to the police, sauce up is now like the new gold in Grenada. Now it used to be nutmeg and so, but sauce up happens to be the gold in Grenada right now. So men want an easy and a fast money. So business, ting. The men couldn't produce the receipt for the business. They were about to sell the sauce up and then police catch them with the business. They were detained and so on. So let's see what go happen. It may just turn out that you know. It may just turn out, but all I'm saying, the convoy of sauce up is under investigation by Grenada police. Jano. Alright, so anyway, let's go. The next story that we have to tell you about, because we have the doctor there, let's run through quickly. They say about, did I say about 2,000 pounds? Yeah, 2,000 pounds. So I tell you the whole convoy, you know, telling you, UWI students arrested during protests for a safer campus. In fact, I understand this all stems from an incident where a young lady, a student, was robbed and almost raped. And so the students started protesting, safer campus, we want safer campus. And then things went south.
Campus is closed until we are safe. 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 Campus is closed.
But things took a turn for the worse when police arrived at the scene. One thing led to the next, and this is what the outcome was.
What
Now, yes, there are Grenadian students at that campus, and it is in our interest to monitor that development there. Of course, the reason why they were there again is because they said that they needed safer campuses, and so that is why they were out there protesting, asking for a safer campus. All right, how are we looking for time now? I think we have room to give you one more story. Now, there are a group of people who are currently here in Grenada, and they are saying that they are here to tell Grenadians a lot about cryptocurrency. And they say that it is a new wave of, investments and so on. It's a new era, and that we should find more modern ways of investing in our monies. We had a brief interview with them today. Okay, I'll have to take a look into this. Everything is fine on my end, but I noticed that there are some people who are saying that they have not heard the audio on this one. So I would just double check this, all right? But everything was fine on my end. But if the majority of persons saying that they were not able to hear, then it's something that we will probably look at and give in another program. All right, no problem on that at all. All right, so folks, as usual, we have the doctor with us, and it is Dr. Anslem Okeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. And today we are going to be talking about combined drug intoxication, which is a very interesting topic. But before we even go in there, we have with us Akeem, and he is the marketing person at the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. Good day to you, sir.
Good night to each and everyone. I'd like to say welcome to our program. Welcome to those who are a newcomer to the program. We'd like to tell you have a sit back and listen and learn, and then also enjoy.
All right, so folks, that's Akeem there, and we are about to start our discussion. And you know what? We have had recent incidents happening, one particular incident here in Grenada, and other incidents that has somewhat brought on the idea of tonight's discussion. Both Dr. Okeke and I thought it was necessary to speak about this topic. And so, without any further ado, we would say welcome to Dr. Anslem Okeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. Dr. Okeke, what's up?
Well, Good night, Mikey, and good night, the rest of the public. Akin, Andrew has already welcomed the public and also tried to give everybody the support and remind everybody that it is time for and it is necessary for people to stick around and enjoy this interesting conversation tonight.
Doc, I am obligated to ask a question of you, right? That may not pertain to the topic of discussion tonight, but for the benefit of the people who are on the program tonight, okay? Okay, and you must give us an answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Doc, the viewing public would like to know what was it about our last topic? What was it about you that you were so on fire in our last discussion?
Well, the fact is that sometimes it's important to to step up, to step up the game, and so that some people who are already asleep, just to wake them up.
So you were waking some of the sleepy ones?
Yes, something like that.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, folks. Okay, I did what you all asked me to do. You all asked me to ask the man the question, and so I did. All right. They didn't think I would have had the guts to ask that question. Okay. All right. So, Doc, why not just get into a discussion for tonight? And the first question is, what is drug intoxication? I think that's a very good place to start with our discussion tonight.
Well, drug intoxication, what it means is nothing but excessive consumption of some of these legal and illegal drugs, and it implies the combination and multiple consumption in terms of the dosage and also the duration of time when these medications are taken, and it usually has adverse effects. It has a lot of implications on the brain, and affects the behavior. And because what happened is that some of these medications, these drugs, we use the word drugs. Some of these drugs are what we call psychoactive. Psychoactive means that it keeps the brain alert, and also sometimes it actually alters the function of the brain. And brain has many functions in terms of, we know that one of the functions of the brain is making sure that there is cognition, perception in terms of, viewing the picture of the images, and also making sure that there are so many functions of the brain. So, but what happened is that these medications and these drugs will start altering those functions, and that means it's going to alter them in such a way that the patient will start being alert and start reacting in different ways and abnormal ways, and that's what combined drug intoxication means. That's what it means.
Oh, okay. So which organs are mostly affected, and what are the mechanisms of damage?
Well, the fact is that before we try to proceed to go further to and discuss the damages, we need to understand the normal function and how the medications, all these drugs could cause damages, and what are the parts of the body that are very useful, and the pathway where these drugs usually pass through before it becomes toxic to the body. First and foremost, well, we actually understand that there are various structures and organs in the body that are well affected and recognized in terms of this the destruction of these medications. We know that the brain is one of the primary organs that are mostly affected. The brain there are different, what we call the cells in the brain. We have what we call the neurons, and then we have what we call the interconnection between the neurons or the neuronal cells, And then also we have the blood-brain barrier. So what happens is that sometimes these medications get into the, as the person takes it, it goes into the blood, and then from there it finds its way into the brain. And there are some also other organs like the liver. Liver plays a very crucial role in terms of making sure that some of these medications are detoxified, destroyed, making sure that they become non-toxic. And then also in terms of removing or excreting most of these drugs, medications, we know that the kidneys are also very, very important. So now, where do we understand things could go wrong? Things could go wrong in terms of taking a lot, or depending on the dosage of these medications or the drugs, and when the person starts ingesting a lot, because sometimes some people start by what we call the experimental phase, whereby they start trying to start consume little, you know, just in terms of trying to understand, or let me, you know, for example, when Akin here tries, if he's trying to make an attempt to smoke any of these dangerous drugs, and then in the process of trying to flex muscles, and then that is called the experimental phase, and that's the early phase of it. From there, it could graduate to another phase where you have the other recreational, but we'll get to that point. But we're talking about the damages. The damages could damage the brain, and when it damages the brain, there are some of these the abnormal symptoms. Some of the symptoms will start manifesting in the brain, and the person will start recognizing or start behaving abnormally. And then we also know that it could also damage the heart, and the person might exhibit some of the symptoms related to the cardiovascular system, and then also the gastrointestinal system. So these drugs could cause a lot of damages. It could damage the liver, damage the kidneys, damage most structures in the body. So, and that is a fact.
All right. And I think it's a good place to ask, you know, let's elaborate in terms of the short-term and the long-term symptoms.
Definitely, that's an interesting question. Well, we have to understand that there are short-term symptoms and long-term symptoms with respect to this intoxication of these drugs. We know that the short-term symptoms, we know that there's what the person will start feeling high, okay?
Right.
Example, Mikey here, if Mikey starts tasting some of these dangerous drugs and he starts feeling high on top of the world, and that's called euphoria. And then you also have a situation where the person will start, in terms of the perception, person will start recognizing, having abnormal perception of both in terms of seeing some wrong objects and misinterpreting the objects. The example, the person might see cup and insinuate and assume that cup is no longer cup, but is something different, okay? Oh. And person might say, I'm seeing snake around here, okay? That's
they hallucinate.
Hallucination, that is called also perception, okay? Wrong perception, okay?
Yeah.
And then sometimes the person might have redness, because you recognize that, well, some of these short-term symptoms, the person will start having redness of the eyes, okay? And then you have a situation where the heart will start, the person will be having an increased heart rate, and then also the blood pressure will start rising. And then also the person will be confused, and then also there will be what we call paranoid. The person will start making a wrong assumption and thinking that things are just out of place, okay? And so those are and then there are some gastrointestinal symptoms of short-term symptoms like vomiting. Person might be having diarrhea, nausea, and then the person will be passing a lot of urine, okay? and that's related to the kidneys and the bladder, okay? So, and the person will be sweating a lot. So I try to use the way I usually recognize the short-term symptoms, something like hyper, okay? A person, everything about the person will be hyper, okay? That means everything, heart rate increase, everything, you know, sweating, everything hyper. Though there are some occasions where there will be something like depression, or something like when these symptoms start, depression, or person having slow or what we call slow speech, and then some other things, the person will start slowing in certain ways, okay? Then we'll also have the long-term phase, long-term symptoms. In terms of long-term symptoms, the person will be, well, the way to recognize it is slow, okay? And in that case, in terms of the social activities, the person will have difficulty in socializing, in terms of having friends, having peers, and then those activities which the person enjoy most of the time, the person will start avoiding it. Example, if the person likes going to church or going to one thing or the other, some social engagement, the person will start avoiding that. These are all pertinent symptoms, and then the mood will start suppressing, and then these are the chronic, or what we call the long-term symptoms of drug intoxication, okay?
Doc, are there different types of drug intoxications?
Well, there are many drugs, many types of drugs. There are quite a lot of them. We start by the legal and illegal ones, okay? When we're talking of the legal ones, we talk of the ones we obtain from, most people go to the over the counter and they obtain medications, and they go, some of them that they're trying to avoid to pay the doctors, the consultation fees. They want to go and self-manage themselves, or, you know, and they go to the pharmacy and get some of these medications, and that's called the over-the-counter stuff. So they start, those types of medications could also have some have harmful effects. They are also classified as also the drug intoxication class, okay? Then we have the type that are also the prescribed medications, the ones, because sometimes there's what called multiple medications, prescriptions, whereby the doctors will write a whole list of, I have seen in my practice where one of the patients that I saw in the past actually came with a prescription of almost 14 or 15 medications which were actually prescribed. And I was like, oh, this guy, oh, this is death sentence already, you know? So, and some of these some of these drugs will have what we call multiple drug interaction. And so that will also be classified as, and then we also have some of the ones you obtain from the herbs, you know, the ones, the natural ones, okay? They're also not exonerated. It's also, it fall under the class of drug intoxication, especially when it is taken for, depending on the concentration and the dosage, and if it is taken for a long period of time. And then we also have the ones that are classified under the illegal, okay? When talking of illegal ones, we have the marijuana, we have the cocaine, and we have also the different amphetamines, and quite a lot of them. They are, and heroines, and all the even the opioids. They are quite a whole lot of them. They are classified under the illegal types of medications or drugs.
So, Doc, are there a certain class of people, type of people who are mostly affected or most vulnerable?
Sure, Mikey. The people who are actually vulnerable in terms of drug intoxication are mostly, if we're talking of the legal type of medications or drugs, we talk of the elderly population, those who are, because as one is getting older, the propensity and the possibility of having so many disease conditions increases, and that's why the prescription medications are actually high in terms of, that's why the the number of medications they take increases, and as the number of medications are increased, that's even the exposure and the chances of having this drug interaction or drug intoxication increases. And then we also have the young folks, the young generations are the younger people who are in less than 15 years or 16 years, because what happens is that there are some of their vital organs that will help in terms of metabolizing these medications are not properly developed, and then they now start taking it, and then that they are also exposed. And then we also have people who are peer group, people who some people who fall into the wrong hands, wrong bad friends, and they could be influenced. So these are the type of people who, and then also there are some people who are in the process of, as example, patients who were already diagnosed with cancer and they're already vulnerable, and also most times they are going through painful crises, and even the sicklers, people who have what we call sickle cell crisis, and they are always having pains and long time or chronic pain, and even people who have some chronic back pain, and they are already in the process of trying to calm down this pain. They start getting used to taking these medications, example like some of the narcotic medications, some of the medications that will help in terms of calming down and reducing the pain, and then they become addicted, and then they become intolerant, and they start taking a lot of these drugs. So they are exposed to these medications.
Okay, I see. So Doc, in your profession, how easy or how hard, or how do you like identify an abuser? Is there a set of tactics that you use? Talk to us about that.
Mikey, I would say this is a very, very complex question, in the sense that sometimes it's difficult to recognize a person who is an who abused drugs, and in the sense that because there are some of these substances have different reactions, have different ways of have different symptoms. Okay, example, a patient with cocaine will have different level of reaction, symptoms and signs that would be different from someone who has heroin. Okay, so in that case sometimes it's quite difficult to recognize. Okay, however, when we proceed in terms of there are, depending on the experience and the expertise, then there are some medications, I mean some of the tests valuable and the necessary tests that will be conducted, taking the urine and then the blood, then run what we call the toxicology screening, and that's one of the ways. And then also in terms of recognizing some of the short-term and the long-term, or what we call the acute presentations of these drugs, and these are the ways to recognize that. But holistically, sometimes it is difficult for a doctor to understand, and sometimes the body reaction or body movement, and then the some of the people, those who take this example, someone who takes alcohol, drinks alcohol, of course the alcohol will be smelling in the mouth. Okay, and then you can use that to decipher that there is a possibility that this person is under the influence of alcohol.
Okay, and I like where you brought in the whole alcohol aspect into the conversation. So here's my question now. What is the difference between drug addiction and intoxication?
Well, that's an interesting question. When we are talking of intoxication means that the person has taken multiple. In terms of intoxication comes under, we have the person taking a lot, high is a lethal dose, what we call a lot. Okay, the toxic dose. Okay, a person taking a lot of medication, high quantity, or a lot of drugs, and also at the same time multiple drugs, combining different drugs at the same time, and that falls under the category, and eventually that will start affecting the neurons, in the sense that when these drugs are taken, starting from the small dose, and these drugs will start depositing around the interneurons. Okay, and then as it deposits there, it start finding its way into the blood and start causing this intoxication. So and eventually a person will start having some of these symptoms, okay? But in the case of addiction, addiction means is like there are so many, a person becomes dependent on this, the tolerance, a person becomes, it becomes a habit, and then one of the major things is in terms of relapse, okay? And when it relapses, and then the person will be finding it difficult to switch back. In terms of intoxication, it is possible because the person is not yet addicted to it, okay? Right. A person can actually decide not to continue, okay? But for once a person is addicted, it's difficult to, you know, it will be difficult to I will use the word return back, okay? It goes to the point of no return, okay? Yeah. Point of no return, and that's one thing, that's the key word, and that's the way to differentiate addiction and from intoxication.
So,
yeah.
So in your practice, what would you say are the most commonly abused drugs or used ones?
Well, the most common abused drugs in my practice, which I know, is not just the illegal drugs, okay? Right. Mostly the drugs that the doctors prescribe in terms of when patients who have chronic disease conditions. Like I mentioned, a patient, I take for example, on Monday, I had a patient who came from America, and he has a history of colorectal carcinoma. And this guy was in excruciating pain, and the pain scale was almost about 10/10, okay? And he was terrible. He was in a terrible condition, and this guy was looking for a way out, okay? I had to, one way or the other, you know, I had to get something for him, and he needed morphine, and unfortunately morphine is not too available, and so I had to figure out what to do, and I had to give him one of the strongest medications, and the guy was so happy, okay? And the pain stopped instantly. So what we're trying to explain is that as there are some categories of people who actually people who are in high demand for these medications. And so those who have sickle cell disease, those who are in who are having pain, chronic disease conditions, these are people who get addicted, or they are people who take most of these drugs all the time.
Okay. All right. And time is running out on us again as we have fun on the program with the people online. I am looking at the comments, Doc. Be sure to when you get home to look at these comments, okay? All right. Doc, in your practice here in Grenada, would you say you see many of these cases, moderately, a high amount, or just not many?
Well, like I said, the legal drugs are very common in every society, including Grenada, okay? Because when people are sick and they are in pain, they definitely have pain relieving medications, and pain relieving medications are also classified as part of the medications that could become addicted, and also that might have also drug intoxication, because what happens is as the person starts taking just a small dose, minimal dose, and person will start graduating to the point where the concentration or the dosage of the medications will be increased to the maximum dose, and in the same effect the person will be achieving the same just to calm down the pains, okay? And that is one point. Then we also understand that these are the ways, okay? And these are the ways that these people get into this situation.
All right. And are there situations where people actually die from some sort of intoxication that probably was so prolonged that it really caused their lives?
Well, Mikey, you realize that one of the reasons why we had to bring up this topic and this week is because of one of your clients who passed on 2 weeks ago before you traveled, okay? And you were concerned about what might have caused the death of that young man, okay? And well, we tried to, based on your information, the information you passed to me, and you said the guy took a high dose of iron. Is it? Well, it is possible that yes, for someone who takes a high dose of any form of medications, whether it is paracetamol, whether it is ibuprofen, or even the iron supplements, okay? And once the person takes a high dose, very high dose, that it will start damaging the liver, and at the same time becomes toxic, and then it is possible that the person might die, okay? And we know that some of the illegal drugs, death is more associated with illegal drugs as compared to legal drugs, okay? In the sense that people who consume high quantity of these illegal drugs like heroin, a good number of them, cocaine, they are likely to die, okay? And they have a short time exposure or likelihood to die as compared to those that take legal drugs, because it is actually on rare occasions where people who take legal drugs die, but it is still possible that that person will die.
Right, right. All right, Doc, any area of this topic you thought we should have covered that we didn't?
Well, Mikey, this is a broad topic. Like I always say, I prefer the general public to be asking questions. Right. And once they ask questions, we are here to address those questions.
Okay, all right. Okay, Doc. All right, so Doc, we have exhausted our time. I'm happy that the TV station tolerated us tonight, because it's a very important topic of discussion that we wanted to discuss tonight.
Yeah, but one of the things we need to is to because we need to enlighten the youths, okay?
Right.
Because the main point about this discussion is in terms of prevention, okay?
Right.
And how to identify the risk factors, because there are some people who are vulnerable, people who are high risk of being that abuse drugs, okay?
Right.
Those that have it could have a genetic and environmental part of it, okay? For those who, because there's some parents who are addicted and who drinks a lot, drink cocaine, smoke cocaine, and then drink a lot of alcohol in the presence of the young ones, and that's not good, okay? Because they're watching you doing all these things, taking this, and then what do you expect? They will definitely copy. They will copy you, okay? And so we are devoting today's topic to the youth, so that we try to be cautious in terms of what we do, because they are watching all the time, okay? So that is the point.
Okay. Well, thank you, Doc, for sharing with us tonight again, and we look forward to another interesting program next week, Thursday, God's willing. Thank you very much, Doc. And again, we want to remind folks of the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. All right, folks, remember it is the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. Doc, you want to provide us with the number again for the Divine Medical Center?
Well, Akim is the man, is always the guy, okay?
All right.
So let's keep him.
All right, so folks, it is the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services, and we have this program here every Thursday. Just halfway through the program, we feature the news, and then we come back with Dr. Ansley Mokiki from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. We now go over to Akim to provide us with information about the clinic.
Good night, Mikey. Good night to each and every one. Again, I would like to provide you with our services that we render, and I would like you to sit back and listen.
Okay, so alright, so go right ahead and tell us.
Our services that we provide: specialist services, ultrasound counseling, laboratory services, physical therapy. We do home visits as well, Mikey, and our home visit is done like we do a 24-hour service, which means that anytime you can call us. Whether it's a Sunday, whether it's a holiday, whether it's an emergency in the night, or someone passed away, you can always call us. We're there to respond and to do what we have to do at our best. Yes. And I would like to give you our location. We're located at Granby Street, Lower Market Hill, St. George's, near Early Parcel Main Store. Our telephone numbers are 435-1539, or you can call us at 421-1529. Or you can email us at divinemedicalservices@gmail.com. Our services are quality, efficiency, and confidentiality. We are ready to serve you, the whole of Grenada, and each and every one. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Akeem, for providing us with that information. Again, folks, that's the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. We take a short break, and we come right back with the wrap-up of the program, and we have one thing to tell you about before we wrap up.
Listen to what you had to say and turn up the old rules, because losing what you paid for is just wrong. Now, lost data and talk are a thing of the past. Only Digicel gives you unlimited rollover data and talk. Just buy and renew your Quick bundle before it expires and keep what's rightfully yours. Never lose what you don't use. Go to My Digicel app to bundle up and roll over today. Digicel.
The countdown has begun, and time is running out. Shop at Courts today and make this season epic with the latest in electronics, appliances, stylish furniture, and so much more. Pay nothing until 2019 and get a free gift with selected purchase, so don't delay. Shop now and make this season epic. Only at Courts, bringing value home.
Award-winning in-depth reporting comes to WBT10. A new season for the news documentary series Carib Update Exclusives is aired 8:30 Mondays. In the next edition, the Grenada debate about the Caribbean Court of Justice.
If this referendum goes ahead on November 6th, we in the NDC are saying to all patriotic Grenadians, do not see green, do not see yellow. Vote no.
Political parties do not have a right to frustrate the people. Okay? And so when I read the NDC's position, I ask myself, really, what is it that they are saying? How are they aligning themselves with the interests of the people?
And where does the vote stand now? We have the analysis and the answers. Plus, we sit down with Grenada songbird Sabrina Francis. Sabrina Francis and her band tour of Europe this week. But we talk to her about her values and her music. It's all in the next edition of Carib Update Exclusives.
Alrighty then, thank you very much. And before we close it off tonight, as usual, we are obligated to telling you about the hot list. So let's do that before we run off for tonight, alright? Yes, we have to tell you about the hot list. The following persons, you're asked to please call the number and not just call. Before I go further, you're not just calling the number, but you're also required to text if you so desire, right? So you text or you call the number. You text, WhatsApp, whatever. 405-8227. That number again, 405-8227. The following persons: Jocelyn Pear, Calivini St. George, Alston Purcell, that's in Mount Fan, St. Andrew, Rhonda Lalji, Gladstone Road in St. Andrew, Gilbert Francis, Union Village, St. Andrew or St. Paul, St. George, also Christopher Beggs, Felix Park, St. Andrew, Dwayne Raj Jerome, Tempe, St. George, Arkil Francis, no, that would be Arkil Francois, that's Grand Bacalet, St. Andrew, Teslin Alexander, Prospect, St. Patrick, then we have Rudolph Charles, Pearl, St. Andrew, we have Lennis Fraser, La Portrie, St. Andrew, Philip Batiste, Mardi Gras, St. George, Urban George Sharp, Tebayed, St. David. Then we have Ranisha Regis, Lamode, Molinaire, St. George, Donsha Lewis, Paraclete, St. Andrew and United Kingdom, sorry. Then we have Ron Williams, Hope St. Andrew, Ryan Clark, Boca St. George, Kira Jagannath, Vincent St. David, Rena Ogilvy, Boca St. George, Shakira McSween, Frequente St. George, and Dean Braveboy, Frequente St. George. You are asked to please call or WhatsApp, text, whatever it is, the number 405-8227. And that's it for the hot list. What else do I have to tell you? Don't forget the flood warning, the minor flood warning that is currently in effect, all right, for Grenada, and that was issued tonight, all right? So please be guided accordingly. Now, what I'm going to do, I know that some of you would have to run off and so, but we are obligated to running the national report. So we are going to run the national report for the benefit of those of you who all the time look forward to that. We have really exhausted a lot of time on the program tonight, but still we are obligated to doing that, so we shall do that right now.
Caribbean Ministers for Health say health must be an integral part of climate change discussions. Details to this story and more coming up in the National Report. With the details to the news for today, Thursday, October 18th, 2018, I am Wendy Edmonds. Health needs to be a critical component of discussions on climate change for small island developing states. That is the consensus of the third Global Conference on Health, which was held at the Radisson Resort. Health ministers from throughout the Caribbean discussed the importance of ensuring climate-resilient health systems in small island developing states and agreed that climate change will continue to affect the ocean, water resources, and food production. However, it was noted that the main impact will be on health, since the health sector has been absent where climate change discussions are held. PAHO Director Dr. Carissa Etienne says they need to consider the various impacts of climate change and to prepare to mitigate against them.
We have realized that health needs to be incorporated in all efforts for mitigation and adaptation, working with other sectors. Leadership for this multi-sectoral approach is critical. An adequate health response depends on the leadership at the implementation level of government. My appeal to you, our appeal to you, Honorable Prime Minister, is that you assume the lead in placing health at the very center of climate change initiatives. We would also like your support to influence the other heads of governments of the Caribbean region to do the same.
Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell stressed that placing the issue of health at the top of their agenda list is critical.
As one of the regional leaders who drives the climate change and climate resilience agenda, it is encouraging to see this conference creating and affording opportunities for delegates to discuss the challenges we face and to determine solutions and recommendations and to develop an action plan to address these challenges. This particular conference also provides a testimony of the level of seriousness that my colleague prime ministers of the region place on this very important matter, that not only touches our natural environment that many of us are so reliant on, but also addresses the health and well-being of our people.
Health Minister Nicholas Steele says the meeting entailed self-critical discussions on the systems that must be implemented and an action plan to minimize the number of citizens who will suffer or die as a result of climate change. He says the message of unity in climate change must be clear.
One of the first steps is to ensure that coming out of this meeting, a clear message is sent to WHO, first and foremost as health ministers, that a SIDS desk be set up, that our dear Dr. St. John be empowered to represent us as a sister and daughter of SIDS nations, that she be our voice and our champion in Geneva. So we have developed an action plan. I believe we have developed a worthwhile and worthy action plan. We now need to put it into action.
The Grenada National Accreditation Board is seeking to ensure efficiency in the process of accrediting educational institutions in Grenada. It included a two-day workshop on Thursday designed to pave the way for revising the 2011 Accreditation Act. Executive Director Pauline Finlay says there are some inconsistencies in the Act, so the workshop was designed to get stakeholder feedback for revision. Details from Annette Moore.
One thing process has to do with the amount of power given to the minister. Another thing, the composition of the board and the qualification of members. What skill set does the board member bring to the board to debate issues that deals with accreditation and make decisions? It's one of the things somebody pointed out. Then you have the development of SR&O. So you have the Act, but we do not have regulations that govern.
The recommendation isn't included that you could potentially just submit the findings. The minister could just submit the findings and not the findings and the recommendation. Is that what you're saying?
The consultation sparked lively and informed dialogue on the issues at hand.
Well, I believe that the recommendations of the person or persons would be a recommendation of a course of action, so that the minister will take that course of action, then reflects the findings.
The consultation will assess the expertise of participants to critically review the Accreditation Act No. 15 of 2011 to reflect new trends and practices in tertiary education and accreditation systems, while ensuring that clauses within the Act are current, pertinent, and in the best interest of GNAB's development.
Institutions and persons providing tertiary education need to be made aware of is that very soon the students graduating from their institution must hold a certificate from an internationally recognized accreditation body.
This is mostly to encourage a conversation on whether the Accreditation Act is in sync with international standards and policies and so on for accreditation.
Quality assurance consultant Mike Bradshaw did an overview of the quality assurance in higher education, focusing specifically on implications for the legal review. The consultant commended the work GNAB has done thus far, among other things.
Accreditation is a partnership. It's a partnership between the institutions and the regulatory body, in that to ensure that the policies and regulations put in place is fair to all and, most important, fair to the interests of the students.
With regard to compliance and fees as mandated by the Act, the consultant had this to say in terms of best practices.
In Trinidad, it was like about 3 years before the institutions, before it is impacted upon them. Sufficient time. There was training given to the institutions, to the external evaluators, so both the regulator and the institutions would have been on the same page, and that is actually a very fair process. So, I'm sure that the GNAB would give the institutions sufficient time. Hearing the conversations and the discussions going on, I am sure that they will have enough information to make recommendations to the board and to the Ministry of Education.
Finlay also provided further details on current accreditation activities and a small update on the progress of that process for one tertiary institution in Grenada.
One of the things you do in accreditation is, because an institution has been established for a long time, there is something you call grandfathering, in that the institution would have quite a number of standards in place, and therefore we may skip 1 or 2 steps in the process and go straight to accreditation. So they may be accredited within a shorter period of time. We're hoping that by next year, we should do the earlier part of next year, we should complete St. George's University.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Water up to my belly. Mattress floating, furniture floating, even the TV set floated for a while, you know?
My sneakers were floating just like boats.
Floods. They can happen so suddenly. What can you do?
Listen, when I saw the portable toilet from the construction site up the road float by, and I realized that all that stuff was in the water.
Floods. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. What can you do to help stop flooding? Keep drains and wells clean and unblocked. Find out lots more about floods and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and SEDERA.
Welcome back. Extension staff in the Ministry of Agriculture has been increased for farm visits as of this month. That announcement was made by Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Agriculture, Elvis Moraine, during a recent consultation with farmers. He says one of the major concerns for farmers is the absence of adequate farm extension staff. Moraine said that the ministry has partnered with ICA and MAREP to provide training for the extension unit to adequately equip them with the skills needed to perform their duties. As of the beginning of October, extension staff will be sent to the farms in clusters, which will alleviate the problem of limited farm visits by officers.
Extension services will be delivered in cluster. So in other words, you no longer see one officer coming to your farm, but it would be a collection, a group of officers. And these officers would be drawn from all the departments that offer extension services. So extension, as we know, extension, agronomy, livestock, pest and disease. So when they come to you, a group of persons will come to you, so you'll be served in every area. We are going to structure this in such a way that we're going to even be alerting the public as to when we are in the respective areas.
And that's the National Report for today, Thursday, October 18th. On behalf of all of us in the newsroom, I'm Wendy Edmond, thanking you for viewing.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. And everyone who were part of the National Report, we want to say thank you for that. And folks,